Om Agana Timanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakan Vitam Shah Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakava Druvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vivascha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad-Bhagavatam Canto 10 Chapter 12 The Killing of the Demon Aghasura Text 39 Sakrid yat anga pratimantar ahita Manomai Bhagavatim Didogatim Saeva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyapi Tudashtamayom Tar Gato Hi Kim Punaha Sakridyaranga Pratimantara Hita Manomai Bhagavatim Didogatim Saeva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyapi Yudhastamayon Tar Gato Hi Kim Punaha Mataji. Saeva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyapi Yudhastamayon Tarakato Hikim Punaha Sakridyaranga Pratimantardita Manomi Bhagavatim Gato Gatim Seva Nityatma Sukhanubhutyabi Yudhastamayon Tarakato Hikim Punaha Sakrit once only Yat whose Anga Pratima the form of the Supreme Lord. There are many forms. But Krishna is the original form. Antak ahita, placing within the core of the heart, somehow or another. Manakmayi, thinking of him even by force. Bhagavatim, which is confident to offer devotional service to the Lord. The Tao Krishna gave. Gatim, the best destination. Saha, he, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eva, indeed. Nitya, always. Atma, of all the entities. Sukha anubhuti. Anyone thinking of him immediately enjoys transcendental pleasure. Avivyudasta maya. Because all illusion is completely removed by him. Antakataha. He is always present within the core of the heart. He, indeed. Kim punaha. What to speak. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. If even only once or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's mind, one can obtain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation? Or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Purport. The process of receiving the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasya bhaktya. Bhagavatam 4:22-39. Simply by thinking of Krishna, one can obtain him very easily. Krishna is also described as having his lotus feet always within the hearts of the devotees. Bhagavan Bhakta Ridi Stitaha. In the case of Aghasura, one may argue that he was not a devotee. The answer to this is that he thought of Krishna for a moment with devotion. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahiha. Without devotion, one cannot think of Krishna, and conversely, whenever one thinks of Krishna, one undoubtedly has devotion. Although Aghasura's purpose was to kill Krishna, for a moment Aghasura thought of Krishna with devotion, and Krishna and his associates wanted to sport within Aghasura's mouth. Similarly, Putana wanted to kill Krishna by poisoning him, but Krishna took her as his mother because he had accepted the milk of her breast. Swapamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vayat. The Bhagavad Gita 2:40. Especially when Krishna appears as an avatar, anyone who thinks of Krishna in his different incarnations, Ramadi Mortishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan, especially in his original form as Krishna, attains salvation. There are many instances of this. Among them is Aghasura, who has attained the salvation of Swarupa Mukti. Therefore, the process is Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chadrida. Those who are devotees always engage in glorifying Krishna. Advaitam achutam anadim anantarupam. When we speak of Krishna, we refer to all his avatars, such as Krishna, Govinda, Narayana, Vishnu, Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Balaram, and Shama Sundara. One who always thinks of Krishna must attain vimukti, special salvation as the Lord's personal associate, not necessarily in Vrindavan, but at least in Vaikuntha. This is called Swarupya Mukti. If even only once, or even by force, one brings the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's mind, one can attain the supreme salvation by the mercy of Krishna, as did Aghasura. What then is to be said of those whose hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters when he appears as an incarnation, or those who always think of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the source of transcendental bliss, for all living entities, and by whom all illusion is completely removed. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskadyade Sadhara. In the Padma Purana it is said, Smartavyak Sadatam Vishnur Vismartak Jatuna Kinchit Sarva Vidi Nisedyasyur Etiyar Evakinkara. That all the rules and regulations are there in the scriptures so that we can always remember Krishna and never forget him. And then if one does that, then all the shedas that we're not supposed to do and all the vidis that we're supposed to do, they're naturally satisfied. But how to do that? One has to be trained by devotees who have accomplished that injunction, who have actually always think about Krishna and never forget him. One has to be trained by a devotee, and training that devotee means to serve that devotee, or devotees. One has to serve the devotees who are remembering Krishna and not forgetting him. Otherwise, if we think that by some mechanical method we can always remember Krishna and never forget him, we're wrong. As I mentioned, there was one devotee, he thought that he could remember Krishna and never forget him if he always had the holy names in front of his eyes. So he got a harmonica stand and he wrote out the holy name, the Mahamantra, and so wherever he looked, all he saw was the Mahamantra. And he'd spend the whole day just walking around the temple, looking at the Mahamantra and chanting. But after a while he got bored, so he started to walk around the temple, chanting. And then he decided to try out around the block. And then around 2 blocks. And then one day he went for his japa walk and never returned. Because one may mechanically try to always remember Krishna and never forget him, but that doesn't mean that Krishna is obliged to reveal himself. And there's a difference between chanting the syllables and the letters of the alphabet and actually chanting the holy name. For that reason we have 10 offenses in chanting the holy name. It's not just chant any way you like and everything will be fine. No, there are 10 offenses. And unless one follows the 10 offenses, unless one avoids the 10 offenses, then one will not be able to actually experience how Krishna and his name are not different. Bahu janma kari shabana kirtana. One can go on chanting the holy name for many millions of lifetimes, but if he's not free from these 10 offenses, he won't get love of God. And one cannot teach us how to avoid the 10 offenses. Only devotees who are trying to avoid the 10 offenses can teach us how to avoid the 10 offenses. Someone can't give us something that they don't have. If they're committing the 10 offenses against the holy name, how much can they tell us how to avoid it themselves, ourselves? And unless we understand that that's our mission in life, to avoid the 10 offenses, and in the positive way, to learn how to serve Krishna better and his devotees. Unless we see that as the goal of our life, then we won't take it very seriously. We'll think every day, 16 rounds, we're supposed to chant for some reason or another, and we just chant, shnik, shnik, ram, ram, day, 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 hey, kitty, kitty, hey, kitty, ram, 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 hey, ram, 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 ram. And we're happy that finally the last counter beats falls down and we're free from this torture of chanting the holy names. Because if we're committing the 10 offenses against chanting the holy name according to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, then instead of watering the Bhakti Lata beach, the seed of devotion, to grow into the creeper of love of God, we'll be watering the weeds that appear within our minds. In other words, whatever we focus our attention and give our love to, that's what we're cultivating. And actually, the chanting somehow or another puts us into a position where we start concentrating on what we're doing. And if what we're doing is remembering all the miscellaneous things that go through our mind as a result of the 10 offenses, then instead of actually concentrating on Krishna, we'll be concentrating on all our sinful activities, all our offenses. And then we'll grow. Think of all the people who you don't like, who did something wrong with you, and when you're chanting, you're just hating them even more. Constantly remembering them and hating them, wishing them ill. So the result is that we'll actually become more and more degraded by such chanting. Someone has to be careful that the chanting is not misused and is used properly to help us focus the mind and give our love to Krishna. Then we'll actually be able to, that means that during the day, it's not only 2 hours or whatever it might take us to chant Hare Krishna, that's our sadhana. The whole day is sadhana and service. And as we perform sadhana and service during the day, see our lives as part, then it's very difficult to concentrate the mind just for 2 hours a day. We allow the mind to wander for the other 22 hours. Then we'll struggle chanting and we won't get the result. We won't be able to remember Krishna progressively. First his names, actually hear his names, chant with attention, and actually hear what we're chanting, and actually understand we're calling out to Srimati Radharani and Krishna in a loving way, in a happy way, to engage us in the loving service. Then it's like, oh, the energy of the Lord, oh, the Lord, why are you so torturing me by having me to chant these names? Couldn't you just give me the intelligence how to chant these as quickly as possible so I can stop being tortured? No, we're supposed to be enlivened and enlightened by chanting, which means but at the beginning we have to learn how to concentrate our minds and actually listen. So that's a little bit not very pleasant, because for one who's allowed their mind to wander since time immemorial, trying to restrain the mind and trying to listen means that the mind will rebel. And we're very much attached to our minds, and therefore we feel bad that my mind is rebelling. It doesn't feel good that it's being disciplined. The mind has spent since time immemorial disciplining us, and now it doesn't like the fact that we've turned the tables on it. We're going to discipline the mind. So it rebels. And since we're so soft-hearted, or I should say weak-hearted, therefore we immediately give in to the mind. Oh, I'm sorry, I tried to discipline you. I didn't realize my position, that I'm really your eternal servant. Please tell me what to feel and think and do. No, one can discipline the mind, and then gradually one can actually chant with some kind of feeling, at least positive feeling. And we always have feeling. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we feel something. But to feel positive towards Krishna and Srimati Radharani and devotional service, that takes a little while to develop positive feelings towards that. In any case, if we just make an effort, that effort itself is a success. On the other hand, just to forget about Krishna completely, like 99.9% of the people in the world are doing, and maybe within our day we also have significant gaps in remembering Krishna. So, even to think about Krishna a little bit, what to speak in a positive way, is quite auspicious. There's nothing more auspicious than that. It's the only thing that we're doing that's permanent. Everything else is just going to come and go like the seasonal changes. And all those big heroes since time immemorial who conquered the universe or the world, they've all been forgotten about. All their efforts have just been disappeared in the course of time. But one who chants Hare Krishna, one who performs devotional service, even a little bit, then one is at least building one's Chintamani palace in the spiritual world, becoming eligible to get a one-way ticket to the spiritual world, buying his ticket to the spiritual world, and rent-free house forever, Chintamani house, with prasadam, full prasad every day. So it's quite a good deal. Otherwise, everything else is more or less going to be vanquished very shortly and completely forgotten about in the course of time. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. About chanting, yesterday, if I heard correctly, you also said that in spiritual world they're also chanting.
Oh yeah, sure. One of Srimati Radharani and Krishna's favorite songs is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, hare-rama, hare-rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's their most popular song there. It's quoted on here also. Yeah, everyone is chanting in the spiritual world. That's all they do. Glorifying Krishna. They talk about Krishna, they think about Krishna, they serve Krishna. That's all it is. Because Krishna is the reservoir of all love and pleasure. What else is there to do? You dive into it. If you're hungry and you dive into an ocean of nectar, where else are you going to go? But we don't have that experience. Here everything is bhakti-yoga. We try to enjoy something for some time, then it becomes hacking and we give it up. We can't imagine a source of pleasure which is eternally increasing. We never get tired of it, always hanker for it even more. It's just beyond our present experience. What to speak of that pleasure being a relation with a person. Here we get tired, we have people get together, they have some relation, but after a while they chew each other up and they spit each other out and look for a new person to have a relationship with. So what to speak of an eternal loving relation with someone, it's beyond our experience. Anything else? Okay. Prantaraj srimad-bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.